So here we are with the second round of Swiss. Again, this is myself on the right playing Andromeda, and Ryan on the left playing NBM, The World Is Yours. So I split the first round, so did Ryan, I believe. Obviously, again, if you recall, this was actually the matchup for the final of January's tournament, so not not ideal in terms of a matchup for the second round of Swiss, but hey, we'll take it as they come. I don't think either of us mulliganed, so we're going to see what happens first and foremost with the with both hands. First of all, it looks like Ryan's relatively happy with what he has. He has the ice, and yes, he has the turn 1 sweeps week, which we will undoubtedly see against Andromeda. And it's a card that really made itself felt in the February 2014 tournament. It has to be said that Sweeps Week is a killer, speaking of which. So he now takes an absolutely monster extra 8 credits. An 8 credit card for 1 click, and it's a soft counter to Andromeda to say the absolute least, and it means now that he can res whatever he puts down. In fact, he could probably res twice. So he's going to install in front of HQ, he's going to leave R&D wide open, but obviously whatever that is in front of HQ, I'm going to feel it, because he can res it. So first click I will sure gamble, and second click sure gamble. So I have the money as well, but he could probably do more damage with it than I can at this stage. I think there's a real pressure with Andromeda to use those initial 4 cards as best you possibly can. So I've got Dave Sucker, third click. And again, as starts go, this isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. And run R&D, last click. Don't see anything, that's fine. I've got the value out of the data sucker, so that's all good, but I do have to now discard a card, and I discard my extra data sucker. So he'll install in front of R&D. Draw, second click. Seeing a wall of static, which he'll then put and set up a remote for the final click. So he's got the ice he needs. I think he's particularly flush with agendas, so I saw the excuse me, the data, the Desperado there. It's the question of, do you install it or do you run through on R&D and see what you can get. He reses the Eli, which I've now ran into second click on HQ. I choose to bounce rather than click through. So third click will run through on R&D and see another Eli, which I will also bounce off, unsurprisingly, because I don't have an extra click to be able to do so. So a barrier breaker becomes priority 1, 2 and 3 here. But even then, even with the barrier breaker, Eli's are incredibly expensive to get through. It's a 4 strength, 2 subroutine card. It is not cheap to get through. If you click through it, well, that's still a win for the corporation. And if you don't click through it, and even with the corroder on the board, you're having to pay 4 credits, and that is not to be sneezed at. So he will shipment from San a making news. Breaking news, sorry, not a making news, a breaking news. Giving him 1 point agenda, potentially turning on any archers he may have splashed for. I don't know what he's splashed for yet. Obviously he's got the 2 Elis, but other than that, that's only 2 points of influence he's spent so far. In hand, it looks like I've got some compromised employees, which I never really use, I have to say. So I will first click account siphon. I think I may have drawn, sorry. So drawn, account siphon, second click, click through Eli, and then taking him for all the money he had, and taking 2 tanks as well. So having seen the 2 Elis, I'm relatively hopeful he's not running the Scorch that he needs, but regardless, I've got the money now to beat the Sea Source, which is the important thing. So he will install into the remote, take some money, and pass the turn over to me. First click I'll draw. Now certainly Eli isn't ideal in front of HQ. Again, for that very reason, for the very, the account siphon is dangerous and it causes real problem. So we'll run against the remote, see a wall of static, another barrier. Got an R&D interface in hand, so I could make the run click work if I'm seeing 2 cards. It's not ideal. It's not terrible, so I draw. I don't think I can. I've seen the special order yet, and I'll install the R&D interface. Oh, whoops! I apologise for that. Accidentally turned over the next card in R&D, which is a Yogg, which I draw up the next round, the next turn. First click, just to avoid any kind of unfair play kind of accusations. So he will res the melange and use it. Taking 6 effectively, discounting the cost of it. So a dirty laundry through on R&D, I believe. Oh no, maybe an archive. Sorry. No, sorry, it was R&D. So I see 2 cards. 1, 2, seeing nothing. But I do get the Desperado credit, the Dirty Laundry credits, and the Data Sucker token, so not unprofitable. So he will install another piece of ice in front of R&D. He's got a pop-up window in hand there, which isn't going to really bother me at this stage. What looks like another Eli, a Viper, and some economy, so he hasn't seen any agendas yet. And also with the Res Melange, he can just keep clicking for money if he really so desires it. So first click I'll draw, see the fairy. Second click I'll draw, looking desperate, another fairy, looking desperately here for a means to I take that back. Again, it's a case of you don't really want to have to install something before they've seen it, but at this point I just kind of want to get cards on the board. I've got good cards, they're not bad cards, but they're not what I need at this particular stage. That's not to mean to say that I won't need them later. So I will discard the fairy and discard the other fairy now that I've got the mimic down. And that was the idea, so that I could discard the compromised employee instead. It's a difficult one. I was kind of stuck with too many cards in hand, too many good cards in hand. So I think he just melanged there. I've seen the Corroder, first click, so second click I'll play it. Thank goodness for that, but again it's expensive to get through these servers. Third click, we will run... I think running... Yep, so I'm running R&D, seeing what he reses. I've got the 3 Data Sucker tokens, so I can break an Archer, which is what he reses. And again, I was very conscious of that. You don't want to run on unresed ice with an agenda out, a 1-pointer agenda, and not be able to get through the Archer you need, which is what I did there. So broke the Archer for 4 and the Data Sucker tokens, and then broke through the Eli for another 4, getting 1 back for Desperado and a Data Sucker token back, and see 2 cards. 1, 2. Seeing nothing, which is typical, but then to be fair, it looks like Ryan hasn't been seeing the agendas he wants either, to be fair, so it all works out in the end. So final click, I will... I think I was not sure what I was going to do there. Was I going to run archives? I don't know what. I'm not quite sure what I did there. I think I might have just taken a credit, which is obviously foolish. I should have run archives there. So I know he hasn't seen the agendas in hand. Oh no, sorry, I ran through and trashed his melange. That's what I did. So he's installed another Eli there on top of R&D. That is a mega expensive server to break through now. Incredibly expensive. So it's going to cost me 12 credits to break all subroutines and 3 Data Sucker tokens. 12 credits for 1 run to see 2 cards is not profitable. So we'll account siphon first click. And we will break through the Eli. We will get the Data Sucker, and we'll take 10 credits and drain him of 5. Take another 2 tags. Draw second click. We've seen another R&D interface, so it's an option to have 2 R&D interfaces. Is it worth spending 12 credits to see 3 cards? It's Debatable. It's certainly something you can't repeat, and at this stage, when no agenda points have been scored now, since breaking news has been discarded effectively to res the archer, there's no immediate rush. But I will run through on HQ, see the shipment from Sansan. I also get the data sucker token I need to be able to break the archer if I so choose. And I'll do it again, and see a pop-up window. So again, he had no agendas in hand there, but I wasn't to know that, of course. He had a lot of cards in hand. No Jackson on the board. There's no reason... there is a Jackson on the board now. So he'll draw 2, and see 2 agendas. So running through on R&D there would have netted me 3 agenda points. Kind of decisions where the game kind of balances, really. If I'd waited one more turn to run on HQ, could have been a very different story. So he's going to put the toll booth in front of the Eli. So that's another server now that is ridiculously expensive to break through. And he's going to discard... I'm not quite sure what he's got rid of there, but it looks like he still has 2 agendas in hand. And it looks like he's getting rid of marked accounts, is it? Not quite sure. But regardless, with a Jackson on the board, I know they're not, even if they are agendas, they're going to go straight back in. So first click is easy mark. Second click draw, see the Fem, which was obviously perfect against the toll booth. But I don't know it's a toll booth yet. So I've got the Yogg on the board as well, so I've got the means to get in and break the service, but the cost is absolutely horrendous. So I've got a Fairy, which means I can now get through an Archer for less. It's a kind of one-off, get through the Archer when I need to. And I've got a good rig. I've got good cards in hand, I've got an R&D interface, I've got a Desperado down, I'm a happy man, run archives, yeah, not because I'm expecting to score agendas, but because I get a credit and a data sucker for the privilege, and I've just spent a turn sort of rejuvenating my economy. So he's going to shipment from Sansan, another breaking news. Okay, just saving himself the money effectively. So first click, I'll play the R&D interface. I'm just working out the costing here. So we'll run R&D, second click. And he'll res the other Eli, which he has exactly enough money for. I know I don't have enough money now to break through the server, so I'm just going to click through the first Eli. Use the Fairy. I'm debating whether to use data sucker tokens here or to just pay and get through. So I'm going to pay and get through, use the Fairy to break it, and then use data sucker tokens on the Eli and break through there and pay the 2 credits, get 1 data sucker back, get 1 credit back, and access 3 cards. He will use Jackson Howard. He's obviously concerned about agenda density in R&D, which, again, looking at his hand, is perfectly understandable. He's only actually seen 2 breaking news and 1 other agenda in hand at the moment, so he's only got 1 agenda in hand. He knows that there are a significant amount of agendas. I think at this stage I did a kind of Schrodinger's cat kind of question, saying, well, what would I have won? And the answer actually was no, I would have been okay. So possibly a little bit of regret there, using the Jackson. But one of the fantastic things about Jackson is exactly this. He can make a real difference. Just these small kind of decisions, these R&D runs, being able to improve the agenda density where I need it. So 1, 2, 3, score the bottom one, which is the Beal. And that was the end of my turn because I used the clicks to break through the first Eli. So it's 2 agenda points to 1. And it's still very much You know, again, it's difficult. I can't continue to repeat these R&D runs. They're once in a blue moon kind of jobs. He's got the sweep there, which means he can pick up his economy back up again. He'll install into the remote and take 2 credits. I'm pretty sure that's a sand, but don't quote me on it. So there's only one agenda in hand. Again, I may probably... Obviously, I don't know that. Perhaps the correct play here would have been to run through HQ and try and pressure his hand that way. But again, you never to know. And again, I did take him using his Beal when running through R&D that he didn't actually have a lot in hand. So I'll run through, see that, and again I'd say that's fine, keep it. I'm not going to trash it. Don't have the money for it. And I'll just run through on archives, take a credit and a data sucker token. Still feeling like I'm in a good position. He'll sweep weak, first click, second click draw, see us another sand and take a credit. So 15 minutes into the game and not a great deal's happened, it has to be said. So he will res the marked accounts and we'll see what happens here. So he has the means to get his economy back up now. Whether he uses it or not, I'm not sure, but I'm not going to run in and trash it. I can't afford it. He knows it. It's just too expensive to run through these R&D and R&D lock-in at this stage. Private contracts are not marked accounts. Private contracts is 5 to trash, and that is well beyond my means. So I'm going to draw up, which is a blessing and a curse against NBN with sweeps week. Again, I've got some good cards. Obviously I can't play the Katie Jones with the amount of tags I have on the board. Would love to, but don't have the means to do it. So I'm just going to do 2 runs on archives, take 2 credits, 2 data suckers, and build up for another run on R&D. Discard the Katie, because obviously I don't need that. And discard the hostage, because I don't need that either. So it's a case of none of us really seeing any agenda. So he's going to install over archives. Got to be careful here of the purge virus counters turn, because it could do me some harm. But he takes some money, and like I say, locks down my easy data sucker accesses now. Makes it more expensive at the very least. So we'll run through on HQ. And he's got the money to res the toll booth. Whether he's got to do it. So he reses the toll booth on HQ, which puts him right back money-wise, but also puts me right back money-wise because I've got to pay the 3 credits and bounce off. So I now know that I probably want to save my fem, use my fem to bypass the toll booth. By far and away the most efficient way of doing it. But I still need to pay the 4 to get through the Eli, so not really ideal. So I discard the decoy, which I don't need, and discard the plascrete, because at this point I'm fairly confident he's not running Scorched with 3 Elis and an Archer on the board. May not account for a huge amount of influence, but enough to probably presume that if he is running a Scorched, it's a 1 of, not a 2 of. Unless he's just been incredibly lucky with his ice draws. Which, to be fair, I can't really argue, as it's incredibly expensive to run through HQ or R&D, despite the fact I've got a relatively ideal breaker suite at this stage. Again, I've got a Yolk in hand, I've got a Fem in hand. We'll run through on archives and see what's what. So I'll pay the 1, get it back, and take the data sucker token, and let that be a lesson to me now that until I get the Yog on the board, it's not worth running through on archives. And obviously he gains a credit as well, which isn't what I need. So draw up, see Mr. Lee. Just take a credit, discard the Corroder. And I think I keep the Mr. Lee, discard the special order, don't need it anymore. And he will res the Sansan and install the Astro, score the Astro with the counter. So now the fast advance is on. He's got an active Sansan, which I cannot afford to trash. And yeah, issues now, real issues. Because this is the quandary situation: is you have a scored Astro script across the board. You also have a res Sansan. He's got no money, so he can't score anything out next turn anyway. What do you do? Do you try an R&D lock, even though it costs you the equivalent of 12 credits, or a mix of 12 credits and data circuit tokens? Or do you try and put pressure on his hand, which is effectively going to cost you the 9 to install the Fem to bypass the toll booth, and then the additional 4 or data circuit tokens to get through the Eli? Really unideal situation, and a fantastic ice mix-up, it has to be said. This is not what you want to see resed in front of you. I believe I do have emergency. I have two emergency shutdowns in the deck. I haven't seen any of them yet, despite drawing quite aggressively. But he'll have the money to re-res them again. Obviously, I can de-res the Archer, which is probably the best move, and try and make him sacrifice another agenda. How much time do I really have now that the Astro script train is fully starting and chugging straight at my face? And this is the situation that MBN can very quickly place a runner in. Really put a clock. So I have drawn the emergency shutdown there. Can I actually find the ability to use it and get through HQ? This is probably the kind of point where you wish you'd see a sneak door beta and get an easier way to access their hand. So he'll draw, see another melange. He's thinking as to what he wants to do. I don't think he's got a huge amount of choice, he just needs to take the money really. Oh no, sorry, he purges virus counters. So that's the question as to whether he purges or whether he takes the cash. I think he's very worried about R&D runs here, as he probably should be. 3 cards is a significant amount, even if it costs me 12 to do it. So no more data circuit tokens, no easy way of getting data circuit tokens, because pop-up window is not a good card to be running through repeatedly. It'll give them way too much money, and that is not what I want to do at this stage. So I'll draw up, looking to see some economy really, looking to see my hedge funds and my easy marks. There's an easy mark, so third click. I've got the dirty laundry as well. I could dirty laundry archives and at least get some value out of it. Still gives him the credit though, which again I really don't want to do, but that's what I'm going to have to do. So I'll dirty laundry archives. And with Desperado at least makes it relatively efficient. Get the data sucker token, but also give him the credit. As long as I don't give him too many, it'll at least mean that he cannot score an agenda this turn. That's the idea. Obviously he still could. He could now install advance once and use the Astro, which is what he does. So he will now score the Beal, taking him up to 5 points, match point effectively. Still got a res Sansan, so the Sansan becomes a problem now. I can't remember what play I make here, but I think, looking at it now, that the only correct play is to run in and trash the Sansan. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I think I'm looking at going through R&D, but I think that's probably an error. If I don't go in and trash the Sansan here, that's a mistake, and I think I do make the mistake of not doing so. easy to look back and reflect and see what you should do. With the AstroScript token gone, that Sansan is a much bigger deal, and it becomes game changing. He now has to play the old-fashioned way, but I don't. I play the Fem, and I bypass the toll booth, and then try to figure out if I have the right amount of money. It's going to cost me 3, 4 at the absolute least, and a data sucker token. Which I realise, so I think third click on... Oh no, okay, yeah, that's fine. So I run, I see a melange. Do I really want to pay the 1 credit to trash it? No. So I'll let them have it back. I just think here this was the downfall for me of this game. If I had taken out the Sansan, I had the time, but instead I went hell for leather, and I emergency shut down the archer, making R&D vulnerable, but not vulnerable enough, it has to be said. You can still res it again, although it obviously cost him another agenda point, and effectively give him another, have to find another 2 agendas to score. So I'll take a credit last click. He draws up the shipment from Sansan, and he takes 3 credits. So the shipment from Sansan now means that all he needs to do is see an agenda. As soon as he sees the agenda, that's the game, because he can install into the remote with the Sansan, shipment from Sansan it, and win the match with no credits on the board. And again, I can, looking back now, it's very clear to see to me that the real problem here, the real mistake, the error of the game, is not trashing that Sansan after he'd scored the Beal. I had the money to do it, had the means to do it, didn't do it. And that's a real problem. So I'll take a credit first click. I think I'm just trying to do the math at the moment. Take another credit, second click. Probably thinking here, if I could stop him seeing the agendas and R&D lock him, it's a whole other ball game. I don't have the money to do it. I would need 2 data suckers and 4 credits. Sorry, 4 data suckers and 4 credits at the absolute minimum. I'll account siphon him third click. Try and make him dirt poor. Well, again, it still cost me a buttload of money to actually get through. So he loses the 3. I gain the 6. Take 2 tags. So I'm in a better economic position, not a great economic position. Having to account siphon for 3 is not what you want to do. I'm going to inside job on R&D, last click. And again, another opportunity there to go in and trash the Sansan, make a real big difference. So I inside job the Eli, and I break the other Eli, see 3 cards. 1, nothing. 2, nothing. 3, score, which is the Astro. He's got a Gillihan's in hand, which he will install, and I'll then take 2 credits and pass it over to me. So I'm thinking at this stage it's probably a Jackson. Not gonna lie, I didn't think it was going to be an agenda, but it's a nice little bluff. Is it an agenda? Is it a Jackson? Is it private contracts? It's no way of telling unless you run it, and it costs money to run it. I still don't have the game-winning agendas. I'm still not on match point. I'm only on 4 points. Where do I apply the pressure? So I'm in a good old ponder here, looking at the board. I've improved the situation, there's no denying that. The toll booth is femmed, the arch has been de-resed, but he still has the res Sansan. The Eli still costs an absolute packet to get through, and I have tags, so I cannot play any resource-based economy, so that means no Katie Jones. And I've pretty much soaked up most of my deck now, so I will... I'm not sure what I'm doing here actually. I think, okay, I'm taking 3 credits and then running on R&D. And see another Astro. So okay, that's all the Astros gone. There is 1 Beal left. And the rest should be 1-pointers. There may be 1 more 2-pointer left in the deck, but that'll probably be a 4-2. I am now a match point. But I'm skint. So it's a melange that he actually had in that remote. So I ran it. I ran through and trashed the melange. So I had a click left and enough money to be able to go in. And if he had put the Gillahans there, that would have been the game. But he didn't. He put the melange there. Again, leaves me skint, and it means it's going to take me at least a turn to get back up to the level I need to go in and run R&D. Both on match point. Both in relatively weak economic positions, but he still has the res Sansan. He can still fast advance from hand. Particularly because I know he has, I'm pretty sure he has the shipment from Sansan in hand as well. And I've got no easy way of getting data sucker tokens. So it's do or die for both of us now. He knows R&D lock is a real problem. Seeing 3 cards, the likelihood of me seeing the agenda I need is high. And that's a real problem for him, because he's not seeing the agenda he needs to win the game. But he does have 2 1-pointers there, it looks like, 2 Gillahans in hand, so he has the win in hand. But can he afford to let me run R&D? That's the question. Can he afford to let me run through on R&D? So he will score the Gillahans, taking him up to 6 points. And again, he has no doubt figured out here that I don't have the money to get through R&D this turn. So I take 2 credits. I take 4 credits. And then he'll shipment from Sansan the extra Gillahans for the win. Again, he had it in hand, he had what he needed. I didn't, he knew I was going to have to spend a whole turn just taking money in order to R&D lock him and get the winning agenda. Couldn't do it. He had the win and I didn't. The only other option was running aggressively against HQ, which I still didn't really have the money for. So he played very, very well with a difficult situation and lots of nasty ice. So it's 1-0 to Ryan, and we move on to game 2.